My name is Thorgest. I am 35 years old. This is the first meal of my day. A wooden bowl of grey stew and a piece of bread so full of stone grit that every bite sounds like boots on gravel. You want to know the filthy truth about what Vikings actually ate? Forget the roasted boar. Forget the overflowing mead horn. Nobody in my world eats like that, not even close. I live in a longhouse on the southern coast of Iceland, near the valley they call Stöng. The walls are turf and stone. The roof is heavy sod. Inside, the air is dark, smoky, and damp. A fire trench runs down the center of the floor, and it has not gone out in months. If that fire goes out, we are in serious trouble. It cooks our food, heats our bodies, and keeps us alive through winters that no person should have to endure. I swing my legs off the sleeping platform, and my bare feet hit packed earth. The floor is cold. It is always cold. I sleep in the same wool tunic I wore yesterday and the day before that. It smells like smoke and sweat, and something sour I stopped noticing years ago. My wife Gudrun is already up, stirring something in the big iron pot that has been sitting over the fire since autumn. That pot is the center of our world. Everything we eat comes out of it. She hands me a bowl. The stew inside is gray. Not gray like stone. Gray like something that used to be several different colors and gave up. Barley floating in it, shreds of dried fish, kale that dissolved 2 days ago. I eat. It is warm. That is the best thing I can say about it. The bread is worse. Gudrun baked it on a flat stone beside the fire. The flour was ground on a hand quern, 2 stones stacked on top of each other. You turn the top stone by hand until flour comes out the sides. But the stones grind themselves too. Tiny chips of rock mix into the flour. Every bite makes a faint crunch that is not the crust. It is stone. And over the years, that stone wears your teeth down to nothing. I am 35, and I have lost 2 teeth on the left side. Not to rot, to bread. The grinding surface of every tooth in my head is flat where it should be sharp. I chew on one side now because the other side aches when cold air hits it. There is no one to fix this. There is no one who knows how to fix this. You eat your bread, and your bread eats your teeth. That is the arrangement. After the morning meal, I walk outside. The air hits me like a slap. Iceland in late autumn does not welcome you. The sky is the color of old pewter. The wind carries salt and the smell of rotting kelp and a cold that pushes through your skin into the muscle. I pull my cloak tight and walk toward the shore. Today I am checking the drying racks at Famsfjordur. We catch cod in summer and hang them on wooden frames to dry in the wind. Dried cod keeps us alive from November to March. If the catch was good, we eat. If it was bad, we pray. There is no market down the road. There is no backup plan. There is the sea, the soil, the animals, and whatever the gods give you. That is the entire economy of survival. The fish hang in rows, stiff and pale, their bodies twisted by the wind into shapes that look almost human. The smell is extraordinary. Not rotten, exactly. More like the ocean decided to concentrate itself into something solid and aggressive. Dried cod does not smell like food. It smells like a dare. But when you soak it and boil it, it fills your belly and gives your muscles what they need to swing an axe or pull an oar.
It tastes like salt and survival. And after a while, you stop wishing it tasted like anything else. I spend the morning hauling bundles of fish to the storehouse near the longhouse. My shoulders burn. My back aches from a decade of this same motion. A man my size doing this kind of work needs more than 4,000 calories a day just to keep his body from eating itself. 4,000. That is almost twice what most people today consume. And I am not getting 4,000. Most days I am lucky to get 3. My body keeps a running count. Every calorie in and every calorie burned.
And the math is never in my favor. By midday, the hunger is a physical thing, not a suggestion from your stomach, a pressure behind your ribs that makes it hard to think about anything else. Back at the longhouse, Gudrun is adding to the pot. This is how it works. You never empty it, you never clean it, you add to it. Today she puts in dried peas, chopped leeks, and a knucklebone boiled so many times it is starting to dissolve. The broth at the bottom of that pot has been building for weeks. Layers of flavor stacked on top of each other like sediment in a riverbed. Some of those layers are fine, some are questionable. You do not ask, you do not inspect, you eat. The garden is a small muddy square behind the longhouse we call the garth. It is not much to look at. A few rows of kale, some onions, a patch of angelica that Gudrun uses for everything from stomach pain to seasoning. And leeks. Always leeks. Leeks are the backbone of the Norse diet, and nobody talks about it. They grow in terrible soil. They survive frost. They add flavor to things that have no business being called food. Without leeks, half our meals would taste like water and regret. But the garden is never enough. It is never enough. Iceland is not built for farming. The growing season is so short, you plant in desperation and harvest in panic. The soil is thin and volcanic. Most of what we eat comes from animals and the sea. Sheep give us milk, which we turn into skyr, a thick, sour dairy that sits somewhere between yogurt and cheese, with a tang sharp enough to make your eyes water. We make missingur, whey boiled down into a brown paste that tastes like someone caramelized sadness. And we drink sour whey every day. Imagine vinegar filtered through a wool sock. That is sour whey. And we drink it because the alternative is watching your food turn green and fuzzy in a storage barrel. The real Viking diet is not feasting, it is fermenting. Everything we eat is dried, smoked, salted, soured, or pickled. Fresh food is a summer luxury that lasts a few weeks and then vanishes like a dream. The rest of the year is an exercise in making old food safe enough to eat without killing you. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we do not. The line between preserved and spoiled is thinner than you think, and some nights the stew tastes like a coin flip. Now let me tell you about the passengers. Not the kind that ride in a boat, the kind that ride inside you. Every single person in my longhouse carries worms, intestinal parasites that live in your gut and feed on the food you eat before your body can use it. Roundworms, whipworms, liver flukes. They get in through the water, the soil, undercooked meat, through the cycle of waste and ground and food that defines life without sewers. You do not feel them arrive. What you feel is the tax, a constant low drain on your energy that you mistake for normal tiredness. You eat a full bowl and an hour later feel like you ate nothing. Your stomach cramps without warning. Your body fights to absorb what it needs while something else takes its share first. There is nothing to be done. The worms come back. They always come back. Every meal is a shared meal, whether you want it to be or not. Every calorie you eat is taxed before it reaches your muscles. This is the invisible cost of living without clean water or any concept of microscopic life. We are strong, but we are strong despite our own bodies working against us. I have been to Hedeby once, the great trading port on the southern edge of the Danish lands. If you think my longhouse smells bad, Hedeby is a sensory event that nearly knocked me off my feet. Thousands of people packed into a settlement built on marshy ground, with open waste channels running between the houses and drying cod on every rafter. The stench hits you before you see the town, a thick wall of salt, smoke and waste that sits over the place like fog. But Hedeby is where I tasted honey for the first time. A trader had a small clay pot of it, dark and thick, and nothing like anything I had ever tasted. The sweetness was so intense it made my jaw ache. I stood in the middle of a town that smelled like the end of the world and ate honey off a wooden stick. And for a single moment, nothing else mattered. Not the parasites, not the grit, not the sour whey waiting at home. Just this one impossible, golden, perfect thing on my tongue. That is what food does in my world. It does not entertain, it does not comfort, but once in a great while, it surprises you. And that surprise keeps you going longer than any amount of dried cod ever could. Winter is when the truth of everything comes out. The stores we built all summer, the dried fish, the salted meat, the barrels of sour whey, the baskets of hard bread, they all start to shrink. You watch it happen in slow motion. The pile of cod gets smaller, the skyr drops lower, the smoked lamb that hung from the rafters in October is down to bones by January. And you start doing math in your head. How many mouths? How many days? How much is left? This is the squeeze. Every family in Iceland knows it. The weeks between the last autumn stores and the first spring catch, when there is simply not enough food to keep everyone fed. You eat less, then less than that. The children get whatever there is first, then Gudrun, then me. I have gone 3 days on nothing but sour whey and a handful of dried dulse seaweed scraped off the rocks at the shore. When things get truly bad, you scrape inner bark from birch trees, dry it, and grind it into flour. Bark bread. It tastes like wood because it is wood. Your stomach cramps around it, but it fills the space and keeps you alive until the fish run again. But here is what I need you to understand. This is not a story about suffering, because even in the deepest winter, when nights last 20 hours and the wind screams, there is a moment every evening that makes it bearable. The fire, the pot, the circle. Gudrun ladles stew into wooden bowls. The children sit on the sleeping platform with their legs drawn up. I sit across on the bench with my back against the turf wall. The smoke drifts upward. Shadows dance on the walls like something alive. And we eat together. The same stew, the same bread, the same wooden spoons that have been in this family longer than I have been alive. Nobody speaks for the first few minutes. We just eat. The warmth moves from the bowl, through my hands, into my chest, and the hunger loosens its grip just enough to breathe. My daughter looks up with broth on her chin and says the stew is good tonight. It is not good. But she says it because we are all here, because the bowls are not empty. And she is absolutely right. That is the secret the sagas do not tell you. The Norse survived not because they were fearless warriors with horned helmets. They survived because a woman could take a knucklebone boiled 11 times and kale already going yellow and a splash of sour whey that smelled like defeat, and turn it into something that kept 5 people alive for another day. The weapon was not the axe. The weapon was the pot. The poets sing about the raids. The skalds tell stories of ships and swords and the blood of enemies. Those things are real. I have been on a ship. I have held a sword. But the thing that takes more courage than any raid is looking at an empty storeroom in February and deciding that your family will not die. Not today. Not on your watch. That is the battle nobody sings about. The battle against the cold and the dark and the slow grinding mathematics of not enough. My bread has grit, wearing my teeth to dust. My gut is full of parasites. My stew has developed its own personality. My best drink tastes like sour disappointment. But I am still here. I am still here because my people figured out something that mattered far more than swords or ships or gold. They figured out how to take the worst ingredients in the harshest landscape on Earth and turn them into tomorrow. Dried cod is not glamorous. Bark bread is not inspiring. Sour whey is not something anyone would choose. But these things are why I am standing here. My children are sleeping inside with full bellies, and the fire is still burning in the longhouse at Stöng. The Hollywood version of my people shows them tearing into roasted meat with their bare hands while mead pours down their beards. And sure, that happened. Once a year, maybe twice, at a feast after a good harvest or a successful trading voyage. The other 360 days looked like this, like kale and leeks and dried fish and sour dairy and stone ground bread and the same pot over the same fire in the same dark, smoky room. And honestly, I would not trade it. Because every bowl of that grey, mysterious stew is proof we are still fighting. My name is Thorgest. I am 35 years old, and the sun always comes back. If you want to see what the world looked like through the eyes of someone who actually lived it, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell so you never miss one. I will see you in the next life.